Oh God. Tonight would have been a good day for the Tide Pod Challenge or something. Warriors were no challengers to the Thunder, to say the least. 126-102, the final score. What can we take away that is positive from this game? Anything. We're going to try our best. And where it all went wrong, there's a lot to get to on today's show.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
What are they going to say now?
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, it's the good word, everyone. Welcome to Locked On Warriors. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Now is a great time to tell you that the Locked On Sports Podcast Network is the #1 sports podcast network in America. It's your team every day. My name's Charlie Walter, host of the show. You can check us out Monday through Friday on YouTube and wherever you get your audio podcasts. I've already smiled too much to begin this show because there was not much to smile about in this game, losing by 24. I got a duo of co-hosts. Mike Loganoff joins us, and Matt Kolsky is rebooting the computer to get the camera ready. He said, hold on, I'll be on in a second. I said, I'm hitting live, brother. I don't give a damn. It's a 24-point loss. I want to get on with my night and talk some Warriors. Topics today, Steph Curry struggles. Everyone struggles. Any silver lining? And are we already talking NBA trade deadline at this point? Or is it not that ugly yet in Warriors land? But I'll give you the opening thought, Mike, as we welcome in Matt Kolsky to the program as well. It was ugly, Mike. It was ugly. Opening thoughts from a 24-point loss where Curry really struggled with just 11 points. And frankly, Oklahoma City is just really, really damn good.
I mean, Chuck, you summed it up pretty well there to open up. I think the Warriors
great night for Tide Pod Challenge.
Yeah, great night for a Tide Pod Challenge. And the Warriors did not play well. The Thunder are a great team, but ultimately it comes down to things that we've talked about on the show when the three of us were on post game after I think it was that Milwaukee loss, right? You have to win the games that you can because margin for error is slim, and we see that margin for error coming to life in the first quarter there. When the Warriors do the little things and they do it well, this is a good team, and we see that with JK being patient and hitting Steph on a cut to the rim and Steph getting an easy bucket. We see that with JK rim running and Jimmy hitting him. We see that with JK rim running again and hitting posts. When they do the little things and they commit to doing the little things, this is a very good team. When things get out of hand and they try to play free and try to play a little bit, creatively outside of the system, I think you see issues. And it's a product of even looking at the first quarter. There was an X out on defense. When we go back to little things, not just on offense, but on defense as well. People say, okay, I know Pods had a very ugly game, but there was a passage of play where him and Buddy did what we call an X out on the weak side, where Buddy goes and he closes out to the guy in the corner. Pods closes out to the guy high. They miss the shot. Pods goes down and gets the rebound. It's the commitment to the little things on both sides of the ball. And this Warriors team does not have that margin for error that they used to have. Hey, we're going to turn it on. And this was kind of like, the old guys playing against a former version of themselves in this Thunder team. And I think the Warriors need to commit to doing those little things.
It's strange, Mike, because when you talk about, and Kolsky too, when you talk about this franchise for the last decade plus, it's always been just wait, it's coming. And a lot of times it's that third quarter barrage. But when you cover this team on a daily basis, you never feel like you're out of a game. It's 17 points and you say, just wait, Steph's going to heat up. Never felt like that today, Kolsky. It hasn't really felt like that the last few weeks, even when they've been in spots to come back against Denver. It never felt like they really had a shot. It's just ugly basketball all around right now. How worried are you?
That's a deep question, man. How worried am I? I wasn't thinking that was the first thing I was going to have to answer. I'm not that worried. This is the bar. You just saw the bar, and I never thought the Warriors were the bar. Now that was a particularly ugly game against the bar. The bar smashed you in the face, but if you want to beat the Thunder, you not only are going to need a pretty perfect game from guys like Kuminga and Post and Moody and Richard. And look, most of those guys were pretty decent today. But you're also going to need Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry to take their best shots at it. And neither of those guys did that tonight. So you're just not. I mean, if Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry are not playing like stars, you are not in the same league as the Oklahoma City Thunder, period. So I wouldn't freak out about this one loss, but, it goes back to what Mike brought up again, something that, I think we did do the Milwaukee one together, but Chuck, we've talked about that same thing on 4 or 5 different post games so far this year. Doing the little things becomes important in the less obviously important games, because even if you play your best game tonight, the Thunder probably beat you. But if you don't have a chance. So better to make up ground against the Indianas and Milwaukees of the world. Even the Spurs tomorrow, like Wembanyama presents a unique challenge, but beating the Spurs is not nearly as difficult as beating the Thunder. That team, I'm glad Mike brought up the old Warriors, because that's the only thing I can compare it to. Now, look, personnel-wise, it doesn't look like Steph and Clay and KD and Draymond. It's its own weird monster. But the way this team defends, that might be what reminds me of those Warriors more than anything. When you had guys like Livingston and Iguodala and Durant and Draymond all on the floor together, and it was just impossible to throw a pass against them. And that's what it's like playing against the Thunder. So that team, man, look, I have high hopes for what the Warriors might be capable of this year, and I still have some of those high hopes. But I think you see tonight why even those hopes probably never extended to winning a title or even appearing in the NBA Finals.
A back-to-back against San Antonio. I guess not a back-to-back, but San Antonio in consecutive games with a day off in between. I saw them play the Bulls last night, watched that thing through and through, and San Antonio's good, man. Don't sleep on the San Antonio Spurs at 8-2 right now. Sure, they're not Oklahoma City, but this thing could get a little bit scary leading into New Orleans if you don't take care of business and get the wheels back on the track. There was some decent today. I would say the best today was Moses Moody. I mean, statistically speaking, it was Jonathan Kuminga who led the way with 13 points. When's the last time a Warriors team had a leading scorer of 13 points? Like that's like some collegiate basketball
Speedy
stuff.
Speedy Claxton, 2005.
Clarence Witherspoon. I mean, good God.
At Portland in January. I was there.
Oh God. So Mike, I mean, let's go with some Moses Moody. He plays 20 minutes, has 10 points. Is it time to fling him into the starting lineup? Not that Kuminga's playing bad or anything, but just to get a little more two-way presence in the starting lineup. What do you think?
I think so, Chuck. I mean, it's what we talked about before the season when you said, hey, who do we think is going to be this Warriors starting lineup? And, we said down the stretch in the playoffs, assume you'll have Al Horford maybe getting that nod once it's really time to play, playoff basketball. But at this point, the Warriors in that conversation, I think they'll right the ship. But Moody, I think, brings that dynamic of, you saw him kind of just making things uncomfortable for Shea, right? When you're playing against guys at that level, the Sheas of the world, the Lucas of the world, all you can do is make them uncomfortable. I think Moody brings that length and that athleticism on the perimeter, but also the attention to detail on the defensive end, that at times, while Kuminga has athleticism and an ability to contest shots and slide his feet probably faster than Moody, I think Moody has greater attention to detail on the defensive end and just a more kind of willingness to shoot the three-point shot that Jonathan, while he's been knocking it down at a decent clip this year. You say 3 and D, who do you think of more? You think more of Moody than you think of Kuminga.
Okay,
I think
so you
the Warriors
can counter.
Also need more of a punch off the bench.
You can counter
JK.
though with what about JK in there instead of Draymond with the way that he's playing right now?
Guys, hold on. Aren't we ignoring the obvious answer here?
What's that?
Brandon
D'Anthony Melton.
Podziemski.
He didn't start.
Okay, but this was a Quentin Post night, right? I mean, the answer. So Quentin Post in this case is the guy that sits for me. Start small. Just bite the bullet and start small. You're playing a lot of it anyway. All the best lineups for this team forever, but I think that we're watching right now. Look, we want Al Horford to get involved as time goes on, but right now all the best lineups are small lineups for the most part. And I just man, structurally, you're going to bench Kuminga again now.
No,
We
didn't say bench. We just had him on the floor with Draymond together, 8 combined turnovers.
You're taking him out of the starting lineup now.
I just
again
asked you,
for the second time.
He's not playing well, man.
I clocked that in week 1, but again, my answer to that would be slow play Draymond. So maybe that's how you do it, right? Maybe it's you start him for Draymond a night here, Kuminga a night here, Jimmy takes a night off, Steph misses it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's where Moses Moody gets his starts, and I think he will get starts that way. I think Steph, Jimmy, Draymond, JK is glued into the starting lineup unless things go absolutely into the tank. I just don't think both structurally and like emotionally, I don't think you can take any of those 4 guys out of the starting lineup. Can you imagine? Look, if we're all going to be honest, the problem with the pathway for Kuminga has always been Draymond. But we don't talk about it because benching Draymond is not an option. It's just not. You want to deal with that? You think Steve Kerr wants those problems in his life? Come on, man. Don't put that on Steve Kerr.
All right, we got some good things to talk about then. Let's continue this conversation and let's talk about a potential. I mean, I know it's November 11th, but potential deadline moves, man. I mean, we already got the Kings. They're so bad. We already got the host of the Kings, Matt George, talking about fire sale. Sabonis, you want DeMar DeRozan? I know you love him, Kolsky. What is going to help this team? Can this team be helped? Or does
it's not funny, Chuck.
Or does it have to be perfect, man? Does it have to be perfect in order to just win some games against some tough teams? What a difference a week makes, man. We were, putting down the Lakers. We were laughing at Los Angeles. They stunk. Now we stink. This is Locked On Warriors. Not we personally, the team. Not Cole.
I smell fine.
Mike
I showered
myself,
today.
Yes. All right. We'll return after this. Today's episode is brought to you by America's #1 sportsbook. You know what that is. That is FanDuel. The NBA's here, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel. They're the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of a game or if you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel's got live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. Let's go. Keeps every game more exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Today's episode is also brought to you by Mint Mobile. Now is the time to get in with a little Mint Mobile action. Reasons why you should get in. I'll tell you why. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. I said yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for just $15 a month. They make it simple. You got high-speed data, unlimited talk and text. It's on the nation's largest 5G network. You can bring your own phone and keep your same number and contacts. Just give them a try. Why would you not? It's $15. So ready to say yes to saying no? Make the switch at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. Upfront payment of $45 is required. It's equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed may slow above 35 gigs on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. All right, let's get back to the show.
Who can stop Steph Curry?
Hopefully we'll never find out.
All right, fellas, I feel like it's the scene from The Waterboy. I'm Coach Klein, just sticking my head out of the locker saying, does anyone have any ideas? Because truly, I mean, Steve Kerr went with every move in the playbook he had today in terms of rotations. It felt like last year where like 16 guys were playing. In reality, it was only 13, but still, that's a lot of dudes. You'd see a combo with Moody and Richard play well, and then you'd see that combo go to the bench, and all of a sudden Buddy's in, Gary's in. You're just wondering like where the flow is, because you know that Oklahoma City, they're running out Joe off the bench. It's Caruso, it's Jalen Williams. You pretty much know the dudes that are going to be staples. With the Warriors, it seems like it's game to game. It seems like we could be setting ourselves up for some form of a consolidation trade. The question I have for both of you, we'll start with Kolsky. Is there any consolidation trade that we should be looking at that could potentially help this team? What does this team need aside from, my opinion, just more two-way players?
To be clear, two-way as in both ends of the floor, not two-way as in also.
No, we need more
G League
G-Leaguers.
Contracts. They got enough
More
two-way
G-Leaguers.
players.
Bring up
That
Tui.
kind.
Tui to the rescue.
No, I don't think we're there yet. I don't think trades are an issue. I put my finger up because I do want to address the guy in the comments.
I'm usually the beacon of positivity, and right now you're the beacon of positivity, Kolsky.
Well, I don't think it's even positivity. It's just not overreacting to 12 games of basketball. You know, they haven't. As you just said, a week ago, we were in great spirits. They've played a few bad games. You're
what have you done for me lately?
Extremely reactive. The point is, I want to respond to this guy because this is an interesting criticism dressed up in a lot of like Steve Kerr's the worst coach of all time nonsense. But he has made the point on a few shows that I remember and a few times in the chat today that the way Steve Kerr's Warriors offense works is, now he said it only generates bad shots. That's not true, but it is sort of predicated upon having at least one really good shot maker operating at a really high level. And it is kind of built around the otherworldly stuff that Steph Curry can do. When you've also got prime Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant and Andre Iguodala and Sean Livingston, then you can make it happen even when Steph's having an off night. When you don't have all that stuff, it is kind of true that the offense bogs down with a bunch of guys who are neither particularly good shooters nor particularly good creators. We see these lineups with, I mean, Buddy Hield's supposed to be a really good shooter, but he's been terrible so far this year. And it'll be Buddy and GP2 and Pajemski and, you know, like these sort of second quarter lineups. Jimmy will be in there sometimes, and if he's not being aggressive, he's kind of the same thing. And I do think it would help more than a couple guys on this team to just mix in a little more run-of-the-mill standard NBA ball screen offense. I know that is not what Steve Kerr wants to do or what he wants to hear. And I don't want, by any stretch, want to suggest that I'm in full agreement with the guy that thinks Steve Kerr's a bozo who runs a terrible offense, because actually I'm with Steve Kerr on most of this, that he's trying to run a beautiful game offense and just too many players are not smart enough to follow along. But at a certain point, you have to deal with the realities. And if it feels to me that Pods, Kuminga, Butler, and a couple more of the sort of second unit, second quarter guys could run a hell of a ball screen offense that could actually do some damage, probably better than you do with those guys attempting to run the beautiful game that guys like Iguodala and Livingston thrived in. So I don't know. I think it's too early. And certainly after this game where you, again, could get beat by the Thunder by 20, playing great, I wouldn't overreact, but I do think after so many years where it wasn't necessary, and I agreed with Steve Kerr, I think it is getting to a point where you cannot or don't want to count on Steph Curry's, first of all, constant 35 minutes of sprinting around the basketball floor. And second of all, like being that guy to carry that load every night, because it really does break down without him. That's mostly what we've been watching for the last few games, if you ask me.
I thought they tried to switch it up a little bit last year, though, when they made the Dennis Schroeder trade. He's, a high ball screen, pick and roll kind of guy, and he really struggled in the offense. Mike, how do you respond to Kolsky saying that they should mix it up a little and stop zipping it around so much?
Well, so a couple of things. One, agree with Kolsky. Shouldn't overreact. It's 12 games into the season. There's a lot of basketball left to be played. I think also this is a product of the fact that really
Did I
rough
overreact?
schedule. I think we're a little bit of overreaction.
I was just wondering if there's anyone at the deadline that can help this team. I'm gonna.
Well, maybe we'll get there. But I think also people in the chat, they're getting a little worried and saying, okay, burn it down, trade Steph, Jimmy's a bust, etc. Let's all take
I
a
love
deep
people
breath.
saying trade Jimmy. Like, who's taking Jimmy?
Look. Here's the thing, right? This team will go as far as Steph, Jimmy, Draymond, and the supporting cast takes them. And if Jimmy is shooting the ball 3 times against the best team in the NBA, that's probably not enough. If Steph is putting up 11 points, that's probably not enough, right? And so if those 2 guys aren't producing, it really what ends up happening is you're asking the guys that are role players to step up into situations in which, that's great. Let's trade Steph for Austin Reeves. You're asking them to do too much, one. But 2, if you think about the offensive concepts of why we run this motion offense, why the Warriors run this motion offense, is because of the fact it's trying to create advantages for players without having to have Steph run a high pick and roll every single time. It's using his gravity to create advantages by slipping and getting easy buckets at the rim. That creates rim pressure, which then what happens next is the guy is open in the weak side in the corner for a wide open shot. And so it's this concept of advantage creation by using 5 people as opposed to using one individual fulcrum like a Luka, for example, who can create advantages on his own. Steph can do that too. Jimmy can do that as well. Jimmy's a little bit less willing to do in this day and age, but the reason why they run that offense is because it's a concept of creating advantages through the scheme versus creating advantages one-on-one. That can make things look really ugly when your 2 best players and your 2 best offensive players are only putting up 12 and 11 points. If they're not doing it, it's going to be a really, really ugly game. So I don't think the Warriors necessarily need to change the entire offense. I don't think they need to fire Steve Kerr, as people love to call me Mike Kirk, Chuck, as we dealt with over the offseason. But ultimately, I think everyone needs to take a deep breath. The Warriors are 6-6, but it goes back to what we talked about, what we opened the show with, doing the little things. So when they go into New Orleans at the end of the week, over the weekend, they got to go in there and dominate and win that game by 30 points, the same way they beat Indiana. You have to beat those teams that you should beat because now your margin for error going in. I guess the good news is they get San Antonio 2 out of 3 days. It's not like San Antonio has one of the ascending stars and a top 5 player in the NBA in Wemby. It's not like San Antonio also just got a fresh De'Aaron Fox who will present severe issues for the Warriors because of the lack of perimeter speed. That's
Jeremy
something else.
Sohan's back too.
There you go. Yeah. Watch out. But the point is, this is why the margin for error in the West is so slim. The Warriors have to commit to doing the little things. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of games like this over the next 70. I'll get off the soapbox.
We already got people in the chat saying trade Steph Curry for VJ Edgerton. That's actually an entire podcast subject because that's it's not going to happen on either side, but it is fascinating. Trade him for Maxey, whatever. But trade Curry for Rui Hachimura. Yeah, that's going to happen. But I do think that when just because they brought that up, you look at a team like Philly and they got, Quentin Grimes and McCain and some guards. Does this team need, is it a ball handler that they need to kind of settle things down? Do they need a big? Do they need both? Do we need tons of things? What is the biggest concern, Kolsky?
Boy, they could use DeAnthony Melton.
The best seriously. 6 games in Warriors history, Kolsky.
Yes, those games may have overinflated his stock marginally, but the big concern is just can he get and stay healthy, right? It's not like those 6 games of excellent DeAnthony Melton fitting perfectly into what they needed was a surprise. We didn't talk, Mike, but I bet you were just as positive on the expected impact of DeAnthony Melton as I was. I thought, great, this is a dude who's looked like a Warrior for 5 years. If he can just stay healthy. Now, obviously, this is it's a lot to ask for this guy to stay healthy, But again, that's one of the reasons it's too soon. If this is the year that he's on the court in, mid-December and plays the rest of the year, that may be at least one pretty good answer to some of their problems, because it really just would help to have another natural offense initiator on this team. They need that. And if that guy was also able to defend people over 6'2", that would be great. At some point, you mentioned the consolidation trade. I don't know if that's going to happen this year. Obviously, if it comes trade time, which is still at least a month away, but if it comes trade time and the Kuminga thing is trending towards trade, maybe there's a way to make a big consolidation trade and bring someone else exciting to town. Who knows? But whether there is a trade or not, I do think the 12, 11-man rotations are going to be gone by mid-January. There are going to be some choices made, or injuries will make those choices for Steve Kerr. But I think he learned that lesson last year. Like, tonight's not representative. A bunch of guys played a whole quarter of garbage time, right? Yeah. But I think Steve learned that lesson last year. He has no intention of trying to play 11, 12 guys all year long.
All right, I want to get into Jimmy Butler. It's a fascinating talking point. We got people in the chat already saying Butler's cooked. He's been cooked since he fell on his ass against Houston. Let's debate this thing. It's an interesting topic. It's coming up.
Destroy Jimmy and Domino's. I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Basketball season's officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's get real. Getting tickets can be a total headache. That's where Game Time comes in. It gives you an advantage. Like I said, Kylan was in Chicago yesterday. I was in Chicago. Was meeting up with a buddy at United Center, hanging out by the Jordan statue because it was freezing outside, like 20 degrees there. And guess what I did? I went on Game Time. I bought tickets for like $80 right then and there to watch the Bulls play Wemby. And because of that, it was easy. The box office, they were out of tickets. Guess what? Game Time wasn't. And also you could see your seats with a panoramic view. Sometimes you can find NBA tickets for under $25. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA, and you will get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Today's episode is also brought to you by Robinhood. Let me tell you a little bit about our sponsor, Robinhood, and why you should get in on the fun with them. Your ambition just met its match with Robinhood. You play for the win, not just on game day, every day. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again, channeling that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. All right, let's get back to the show.
And most importantly, he a dog.
We need more dogs.
We need more sound bites. Those are last year's sound bites that we have going from breaks. So we're going to need some good ones. Anyone have any suggestions? Throw those in the comments. But I want some suggestions on what we think of Jimmy Butler's night. He had 12 points, 3 rebounds, 3 steals, couple of assists, only turned it over once. He was an efficient 66% from the floor. He was a perfect 8 of 8 from the free throw line. But when I mentioned that efficient 66% from the floor, he took 3 shots in 22 minutes. Now, typically, normal player takes 3 shots, but he's efficient. He had 12 points. It's not his night, whatever. When you're making damn near $60 million and a top 10 paid player in the NBA, I don't know what it is, man, but sometimes we were talking about this, Mike. Sometimes you wish that when he got into the lane, instead of kicking it out and always being so pass first, you wish that he would just take over some of these games like he tends to do when the stakes are at its highest.
Yeah, Jimmy's just got to look to shoot the ball more. I mean, it's incredibly frustrating when he gets into the paint, has an advantage, can pull up for a midi, a little stop and pop, or get to the rim, and instead opts to kick it out. I mean, there are instances when that works, right? You know, against the Pacers, he got Al Horford going. And when Al kind of hit those threes in the third quarter, they extended that lead, right? And that's when the game kind of got out of hand for Indiana. So there's times when it works, but there are times when you're not playing one of the most depleted rosters in the NBA and the Indiana Pacers, and when you're playing against the best team in the NBA and the Oklahoma City Thunder, and when you're the second best player on the team, when your superstar and Steph is coming off of a cold and hasn't played, there's times when you're going to need to produce, and tonight was one of those nights, and Jimmy just didn't.
And here's the issue, Mike. The comment comes in and says, Jimmy paces himself for the season, only cranks it up for the playoffs. How do people still not know that? We know that, but there's no playoffs if you don't win games.
Yeah, but beyond that too, I mean, taking 3 shots is just, I mean, Jimmy has to be putting up at least 12, 13 shots a game, right, for this team to be competitive. And that also, when he's putting the ball in the hoop, that innately creates advantages for others, because then the help is coming and then he's generating advantages for other teammates on closeouts. So that's, I mean, I just think Jimmy needs to be more aggressive and needs to be a more willing shooter.
Kolsky had a little chuckle there at me saying you got to win games. You're truly not concerned whatsoever about this start, are you? I respect that.
This start is not so far away from what I expected. And the things that are different than I expected were the ugly losses that we talked about last week. You know, I thought they had a chance to be 8-4 given some of those other things, but it wasn't because I chalked this one up to a win. And I'm with the guy who commented about Jimmy Butler. Of course, you wish he was more aggressive. If he was more aggressive all the time and like consistently dominated games, he'd be like Anthony Edwards or LeBron James from 3 years ago, but he's not. He's 36-year-old Jimmy Butler or whatever he is, and I think we did know that. Is a night, look, clearly he chooses his spots, right? Is a night like tonight a spot he should have chosen? I suppose we could debate that. He clearly didn't think so. I think that's what this team is. This is a team full of spot choosers because they're old.
Man, it's hard to podcast on a team full of spot choosers.
Well, I don't know that it. Yeah, I mean, I think it makes for some interesting conversation in a lot of ways, because how you approach the season from a philosophical standpoint starts to matter as much as how anyone plays on any given night. Jimmy Butler tonight was 2 for 3 for 11 points, shot a bunch of free throws. You know, as somebody on the chat line said, he only likes to score ones, which I thought was funny. Do you guys, either of you, doubt that on some random playoff night or play-in night or night down the season where you need the game to get into the playoffs, that Jimmy Butler could go for a 30-point triple-double? Like, would that shock you? Or do you think that is definitely a thing he might do?
I think it's definitely a thing he might do, but every day that goes by, I mean, you know it, Kolsky, you're that age.
Well, right, but I don't agree with if what you're about to say is every day that goes by,
he gets older.
Okay, well, that's true. But every day that goes by, I do not lose faith that he's capable of that.
No.
So the reason I point this out is just to say this is all about managing the road to get to a point where you can give Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and whoever else is on that ride with them the opportunity to play over their heads for a month, because we still know they're capable of it. And if the road to that includes some ugly losses, I just don't think it matters to anybody on this team. I really don't.
And here's the biggest thing with specifically tonight, Curry struggling, Kolsky. We saw beginning of the year how good he still is, you know. So every once in a while, you'll get that in the back of your mind, like his father time starting to catch up. He was just sick. You know,
he's coming off. He's coming off what was probably a flu. Yeah. I want someone to go play pickup 2 days off of coming off a flu and tell me how you.
That's what I'm saying. And they're as good as Curry's going to take him, right? So that's the silver lining that I put on the rundown from today's show. It's that he didn't have it.
And Chuck, I mean, just to kind of build off of what Kolsky said, I agree that, you know, long seasons, Kolsky, there's going to be a lot of basketball left to be played, but equally, comes down to winning the games that they should win, because otherwise, do you want the Warriors having to sprint the last 6 weeks of the season? Probably not. And they've already started to shoot themselves in the foot, and they've shot themselves in the foot due to bad habits. Not taking care of the ball, fouling. Some of the things that went wrong tonight looked like the Warriors pre-Jimmy last year, looked like the Warriors in 23, 24. And so it was just those bad habits that are still pervasive, right? Even when Steph's trying to throw a behind the back pass. And, I think everyone here gets it. Steph has earned that leash to a degree. But, Steph, this isn't the same team now where you're going to have KD, Iggy, Livingston, everyone else in between to kind of pick up that slack. He has to be damn near perfect every night for the Warriors to have a chance against the best teams in the league like the Thunder. That's one thing. Chuck, can I go back to a point that you brought up before about, rotations and tightening it, right? I remember after the draft, I came on here on record saying Will Richard is coming for GP2's spot. And what have we seen? Will Richard has ascended in the rotation because of his ability to be a two-way guy and to play the right way and do the little things right. Today, he kind of got a little bit lost on defense with some back cuts and whatnot. I'll acknowledge that. But Will Richard has proven an ability to contribute to this team. And I think that's definitely some found money for a Warriors roster that needs people who can defend on the perimeter and who can knock down an open shot. So I think it's great to see Will in that rotation, and hopefully he sticks in that rotation even when the likes of DeAnthony Melton come back.
Tonight's 10-second standing updates brought to you by America's #1 sportsbook. It's FanDuel. And Warriors are 6-6 right now. They are currently in 8th, right behind the Suns, but the Suns just lost Jalen Green for many, many weeks with a hamstring. They're going to reevaluate him. And are we actually worried about the Phoenix Suns? What we are worried about is the San Antonio Spurs are 8-2. It's a team that probably wasn't expected to be in the top 6. They are in the top 6 to stay, it appears. And now the Warriors have to go up 2 straight against them. Final thoughts, Kolsky, leading into this San Antonio stretch.
Yeah, someone on the chat beat me to it, but I was a little later than Mike to the Will Richard is coming for GP2's minutes. That is clearly happening. I think the question is going to become, is he coming for Brandon Pajemski's minutes? Because
different players, though.
Yes,
different roles.
Well, but if DeAnthony Melton is here as your secondary ball handling guard, I think you prefer Will Richards shooting, which has blown my mind. I mean, this is better than he ever shot the ball in college from a shorter distance. He is shooting the lights out. And if he's reliable, catch and shoot 3 and long-armed defense, I think you're going to see him a lot. I don't think he will stop getting, 20-ish minutes a game for the rest of the year.
I guess the good news from tonight's game, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander actually held to under 30 points. He had 28, but he was sitting with his legs crossed for most.
It's a bad game for him. He considers that a bad night. Just so
casual night for him. Hey, AJ Mitchell, man, the dude from Santa Barbara, the Gaucho? No, Banana Slugs.
Santa Barbara is the Gauchos. Santa Cruz is the Banana Slugs.
That's right, the Gauchos. He's nice, man. I got a nice little numbered to 25 rookie card of him. Do I keep it or do I sell it? Chat, what do I do? How good's AJ Mitchell going to be?
Sell high now. Sell high now.
Sell. Yeah, that'll do it for the show tonight, everyone. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. It's the Warriors and the Spurs coming up tomorrow. We got 2 of them. Expect Al Horford to be back in the lineup as he took the night off tonight. And really, it felt like most people took the night off tonight. It was a very comfortable win for the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, shout out to the Thunder. They're really damn good, fellas. They are the standard right now in the NBA. Kolsky, thank you for joining us. Mike, pleasure. Good to see you, folks.
Always.
Locked On Warriors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.